So friends, what if Naruto became king of Raikage Clan movie? Naruto was now in the middle of a forest somewhere in the middle of a heavy rainstorm, trying to find some shelter from the heavy rain. He was unsure of where he was exactly. He had run out of food several days ago and had tried hunting, but had no luck with it. He had not tried to go to town to get some food. For fear of people spotting him or being recognized by any chance meetings of the Akatsuki members or even one of their agents that would be on the lookout for him, since he was sure that the Akatsuki were aware that he was no longer in Konoha and was thus vulnerable. Soon enough though, Naruto collapsed on the wet ground as he was walking. He was weak since he had not eaten in several days. So this is how it's all going to end, not the way I had wanted, but it could be worse, Naruto thought sadly as he was about to drift into unconsciousness, but then forced himself to wake up. No. I still have my goal to accomplish. I can't give up, I won't give up, Naruto thought as he tried to get up but fell back on the ground. As he was drifting in and out of unconsciousness, he heard the chiming of small bells. As he looked up he could see two figures walking in the rain heading towards him. Even though it was dark he could still make out two things about the two people as they got closer. The first thing was that both of them were wearing conical straw hats with small spike-like balls hanging down to cover their faces, while the second thing was that both were wearing dark cloaks with chin-high collars that also covered their faces. When he saw this, one word popped into Naruto's mind right before he drifted into unconsciousness. Akatsuki. They had found him. As Naruto slowly woke up, he heard people talking in low voices. He couldn't make out what they were talking about or how many there were, but he could tell that one of them was female and that there were about two or more. When he slowly opened his eyes, he found himself looking up at the ceiling of a cave and could feel the heat of a large fire nearby and felt a blanket covering him. What's going on? The last thing I remember, I collapsed from hunger and I then thought Naruto before he jumped up a start as he remembered what he saw before he fell unconscious. When he stood up, he saw three people sitting opposite him who had now turned to look at him when he sat up. The first person was a tall young man who looked to be in about his early 20s. He has a sharp, narrow but well-sculpted and attractive face, which no doubt gained the attention of many young women. He had long raven black hair, much like Sasuke's, which was tied in a loose ponytail that fell down to the middle of his back, and clear blue eyes. He also wore white shinobi pants with silver knee-pads and boots, silver-like armor and a white shirt and fishnet vest underneath it, along with a white cloak over his armor, and carried a long katana on his left hip side. The second person was a tall, slender young woman, where like the man, looked to be in about her early 20s. She had sharp yet attractive face, which probably earned her more than a few glances from many men. She also had short crimson-red hair, which it fell down her face slightly and covered the left-hand side of her face, which helped make her appearance all that more alluring, and had bright green eyes. She wore brown leather pants with brown leather boots and wore a white midriff top with long sleeves, which showed her figure quite nicely, with a fishnet vest underneath, and wore a short cloak over her top. She also carried two short curved swords that were holsters on her legs. The third and final person was a white-haired young boy who looked to be about Naruto's age, although a bit taller. The boy wore a black sleeveless shirt with a fishnet vest underneath, along with black shinobi pants and simple sandals. He had long white hair that went down to his shoulders, which was parted on the left side of his face, so not to cover his eyes. He had a slightly narrow yet handsome face, where he could easily have become very popular with young girls like Sasuke was, and had clear blue eyes, much like his own. He also had a green sash around his shoulders, held together by a round clip, and from what Naruto could tell, the sash seemingly held a long sword that looked to be a bit too long for him to carry. Where the hell am I? Who are you people? Are you with the Akatsuki? What am I doing here? And why the hell am I in my underwear? Cried Naruto in panic as he feared that these people were with the Akatsuki, while at the same time, he realized that he was wearing nothing but his shorts underneath the blanket. There is no need to worry, you're safe, you're among friends here, spoke the young man in the silver armor calmly, in the hope that Naruto would settle down. WWWH, who are you people? Naruto asked, where he kept his back to the end of the small cave behind him, while keeping his guard up since he was unsure who these people were and if they were friend or foe. My name is Akechi Mitsuhide, the woman next to me is friend Miyashi Sayuri, and the boy behind me is our student Siwa Nisu, replied the man named Mitsuhide as he introduced himself and indicated to the people next to him when he spoke their names. How did I get here? The last thing I remember was collapsing onto the ground, said Naruto. Sayuri and I found you when we were returning from a nearby village collecting some supplies. When we found you, we decided to bring you back here and nursed you back to health, answered Mitsuhide. So you were the ones I saw in the straw hats and black cloaks, stated Naruto, where Mitsuhide and Sayuri nodded and showed Naruto the conical straw hats and black cloaks, which were similar to what the Akatsuki wore, with the exception of the red cloud design, hence it was an easy mistake to make, especially from a distance in the dark. How long was I out? Asked Naruto again, since he could see that it was night outside, but wasn't raining. About 3 days, replied Anisu, which of course surprised the blonde. I guess I owe you guys one, muttered Naruto once he got over his surprise and started to let his guard down a little, but still kept alert, not fully trusting them yet. After thanking the people, Naruto then asked where his clothes were. Sayuri of course explained that she had removed his clothing since they were soaking wet from the rain and feared that he would catch a cold if he kept them on. Naturally, upon hearing this, Naruto blushed bright red in embarrassment at the image of Sayuri removing his clothes since she was the first female to ever see him with so little clothing on. Sayuri of course just gave him an amused smirk when she saw Naruto go red, realizing what Naruto was thinking. Naruto's embarrassment of course did not end there, for when he put his clothes back on, his stomach began to rumble from hunger. Hearing this, the three members smirked in amusement, where Mitsuhide took out a medium-sized bowl and spoon and poured some hot soup that was cooking in a large pot over the fire with a stirring spoon and handed it to Naruto. Naruto of course quickly took the bowl and hungrily ate the soup, which was hot but quite delicious, especially on an empty stomach. Half an hour later, after eating 8 bowls of soup, 3 loaves of bread and several pieces of meat and fruit, Naruto finally had his fill, where he thanked Mitsuhide and the others. So now that you are dressed and have eaten your fill, perhaps you could tell us who you are and where you are from. As given what you were carrying in your pouch and backpack, you are clearing from a shinobi village, spoke Sayuri, since when they found Naruto, they had searched his belongings, hoping to find some clue as to who he was, where they found a dozen or more scrolls, which they were unable to open, and shinobi tools in his backpack and pouch. Realizing that he hadn't actually introduced himself to Mitsuhide and the others, Naruto quickly spoke without even thinking, my name is Naruto Uzumaki Naruto. But after saying this he quickly regretted this, since he had been trying to keep a low profile, given how he wasn't fully sure if he could trust Mitsuhide and the others, since he had just met them and they could easily be with the Akatsuki. Well Naruto-san, it's a pleasure to meet you, so tell us, why are you out here by yourself? As I highly doubt that any village would let a young boy such as you go on a mission by yourself. Asked Mitsuhide. Hey, I can take care of myself just fine, retorted Naruto with some annoyance, as he'd been on his own most of his life. I meant no offense, I was just stating that it's highly unusual for someone your age to be on a mission, not to mention you do not have a headband on you, replied Mitsuhide. I was forced to leave my village, answered Naruto rather lowly, and he looked down at the ground, although spoke loudly enough for the others to hear him. Did you do something wrong in your village? Anisu asked. No other than simply existing, replied Naruto, where he muttered the last part so that Mitsuhide and the others couldn't hear him. Then why were you banished? Asked Sayuri, but was met with silence, since the memory of being banished was still fresh on Naruto's mind, not to mention Danzo's seal that was placed on him prevented from talking about Konoha much. There was also the fact that other than saving his life and knowing their names, he didn't really know who Mitsuhide, Sayuri and Anisu really were. Nor did he know if he could trust them, since after being betrayed by his own village, trust was something Naruto was hesitant to give out right now. When Naruto didn't answer her questions, Yuri assumed that Naruto didn't want to talk about it, hence she decided not to press further, but before she could change the subject away from Naruto's banishment, Mitsuhide suddenly spoke up, who had remained silent for a few minutes after he had finished speaking with Naruto, and had a thoughtful look on his face as he looked at a photo in his hand. Tell me Naruto-san, are you by chance from Konoha, and was the reason as to why you were banished from your village because you are the Jinchuriki of the Kikbi no Imko, nine-tailed demon fox? As soon as Mitsuhide had said this, both Sayuri and Anisu turned to look at the man with both surprise and confusion. Naruto on the other hand stood up, not only in shock but also fear, as he started to believe that his saviors were indeed in league with the Akatsuki, the very group he was fleeing from. How did you know that? Cried Naruto with fear, where he took a defensive stance, as he had no intention of going down easy, even with his chakra sealed, he would fight tooth and nail before giving up. Simple deduction, although I was not certain until now, replied Mitsuhide with a barely seen smirk. Stated Naruto with a confused look, as he still did not understand how Mitsuhide knew what he was or where he was from. Seeing the confusion on everyone's face, Mitsuhide decided to explain. To put it simply, Naruto-san, the reason as to why I was able to guess where you were from was because of this photo, explained the young man, upon which he then held up a photo of a young Naruto with Amentuchi standing in front of Ichirika's stand smiling. When Naruto packed up to leave the village, he had taken the photo with him, as it reminded him of some of the good times he had in Konoha, and it reminded him that there were still people who cared about him there. I still don't get how that photo told you I was from Konoha, said still confused Naruto. Look here at the far left-hand corner here, said Mitsuhide, as he pointed at the far corner picture, which showed a part of the Hokage monument. If I'm not very much mistaken, that is the Hokage monument of Konoha. When Naruto and the other looked closely at the picture, they could make out the Shadame and Nidaime Hokage's heads. But how did you know that I was the Jinchuriki of the Kikbi? Ah well, I only knew because of what you said earlier, answered Mitsuhide, where he got another confused look from Naruto. You see, when you first woke up, you asked us if we were with the Akatsuki, where you were clearly afraid of them, and from what I heard of them, the group is made up of 9 S-class Nuknins who are after Jinchuriki, or to be more precise, the Biju that lay within Jinchurikas like you, Naruto-san, hence it makes sense why you would fear them so much, and as for me knowing you possessed the Kikbi. Well, that was even easier to deduce, since the only Biju that is associated with Konoha is the Kyuubi, since it attacked Konoha over 12 years ago, and it was the only Biju that had remained free until that point. After hearing this, Naruto could only stare at Mitsuhide with awe, as he couldn't believe that Mitsuhide had figured out so much by just looking at a photo, hearing him mention the Akatsuki. Whoa, you're amazing. Stated Naruto with awe, while at the same time thinking this guy could be even smarter than Shikamaru. Trust me kid, you haven't seen anything yet, answered Sayuri with a knowing smile, as she shook her head in amusement. But what I still do not understand is why they banished you to begin with. Since to my knowledge, the shinobi villages regard Jinchuriki as deterrents and weapons of last resort, hence it would be rather foolish of them to banish you, since it would hurt them a great deal, where the other shinobi villages may attack them, believing Konoha is weak, spoke Mitsuhide. When Naruto heard this, he of course angered at how he was used by his own village, since he realized that to some of those who knew what he was, saw him as nothing more than a human weapon to be used. So can you tell us why you were banished? Sayuri asked again. Naruto of course did not answer at first, but decided since they already knew he was a Jinchuriki, he might as well come clean. I was banished because some of the Konoha council were able to use a law to overrule the Hokage and have me banished, since most of the council hated me because of what I was, and they feared the Akatsuki would destroy the village to get me, as the village had been weakened from the recent invasion by Suna and Odo. So they decided to banish me in the hope that the Akatsuki would leave Konoha alone so it could rebuild and let the Akatsuki attack and weaken the other villages to get their Jinchuriki, explained Naruto. At this, Mitsuhide and Sayuri nodded, since they had heard of the recent attack on Konoha by Suna and Odo and how the village drove them back, but even after hearing this, both shinobi were slightly baffled by the council reason for banishing Naruto, even though they could understand their fear of being invaded by the Akatsuki. There would still be no guarantee that the other villages won't attack Konoha before the Akatsuki go after the other Jinchuriki, plus with the losses and damage they took during the recent invasion, added with the loss of their Jinchuriki, Konoha military strength would be severely weakened, making it more vulnerable. Hence there had to be more to their plan than to simply avoiding a conflict with the Akatsuki. After a few minutes of silence, Naruto decided to ask some of his own questions about Mitsuhide and the others, since they clearly knew a lot about the workings of the shinobi villages. So where are you guys from? Naruto asked. We're from Kurigakure no Sato, village hidden in the mist. Like you, we were forced to leave our village. Both Mitsuhide-kun and I were also once members of the Kiri no Shinobigatana Shichinen SHK, 7 ninja swordsmen of the hidden mist, but we were forced to leave due to the people's hatred of our bloodlines and because we were the last of our clans, just like Anisu, explained Sayuri. Where she then indicated her student Anisu. Naturally, at hearing this, Naruto was surprised, since he did not expect them to be members of the same village and group that Haku and Zabuza were from. So you guys are missing ninjas who fled the bloodline purge in Kurigakure? Yes, yeah, I've heard of the bloodline purge. Asked Mitsuhide, with mild surprise at Naruto knowing about it. Yeah, I heard it from a friend of mine, not too long ago, Naruto answered. So what kind of bloodlines do you guys have? My bloodline is called the Takagen, Hawkeye, which gives me the ability to see great distances, track people, and things that are moving at high speeds. I can also see through Jinjutsu and see through objects, not unlike the Hyuga clan's Byakugan and the Uchiha clan Sharingan. My Takagen also allows me to hit any object, no matter how small or far, with a 99% chance of hitting it. I also have the more advanced form of the Takagen, which is called the Sub-Eat no Mi Takagen, all-seeing Hawkeye, which allows me not only to see even greater distance than before, but also allows me to see an object or person's weak points, where if I hit them I could destroy any object with a single strike. I can even disable or even kill a person with one strike, whether it be a hand strike or a sword strike, explained Mitsuhide. Wow, that's a pretty amazing, said Naruto, where he then turned to Sayuri. So what does your bloodline do? My bloodline is called the Shitakiri Kitai, the mist body vapor, which allows me to turn my body into a mist, allowing me to infiltrate any building or room I wish to enter, along with doing several other abilities, Sayuri explained. Cool, said Naruto with slight awe and excitement, where he turned to Anisu. And what about you? I possess the Hyoten bloodline, which allows me combine my wind and water affinities to create and use ice ninjutsu, answered Anisu, which caused the young blonde eyes to widen in shock. Just like Haku, muttered Naruto in shock, which Anisu and his two sensei heard. Haku? do you mean the same Haku who served Mamachi's Abusa, the Kurigakure no Kijin, demon of the hidden mist, former member of the Kiri no Shinobigatana Shichinen SHK, just like Mitsuhide-sensei and Sayuri-sensei?" asked Anisu with a frown as he stood up. "Yes," replied Naruto, with uncertainty. "How?" asked Anisu as he walked up to Naruto and looked directly at him. "I met him at Nami no Kuni, Wave Country, on my first mission with my team outside our village," Naruto answered. At hearing this, Anisu became increasingly angry, where he then grabbed hold of Naruto by the collar of his jacket and slammed him into the cave wall next to them, which of course alarmed both Mitsuhide and Sayuri. "Were you the one who killed my kinsman?" accused Anisu angrily. "What?" cried Naruto with surprise. 2 months ago, we heard that Mamachi's Abusa and my kinsman Haku were killed at Nami no Kuni in a battle against a team of Konoha shinobis. Now tell me. Were you the one who killed Haku?" asked Anisu angrily. "No, I didn't," replied Naruto. "Then tell me who did," demanded Anisu. "My sensei Hada Kakashi," answered Naruto. "How?" asked Anisu angrily. "During the battle my sensei fought Zabuza, while my teammate Uchiha Sasuke and I fought Haku. Eventually I defeated Haku by using the Kyuubi's chakra and tried to reason with him to surrender, as I refused to kill him since I considered him my friend, but as we talked, Haku saw that Zabuza had been defeated by my sensei Kakashi, who was about to kill him. When Haku saw this, he jumped in front of Zabuza and shielded Zabuza with his body." Upon hearing this, Anisu angered started to lessen, but only let go of Naruto when Mitsuhide placed his hand on Anisu's right shoulder and said, "That's enough, Anisu, you heard what happened, Hess not responsible for Heika's death, now let him go." Once Anisu let go of Naruto, he then walked over to the fire and sat down next to Sayuri, who placed her arms around his shoulder in a comforting gesture, telling him it was alright. "I'm sorry about that, Naruto." Anisu has been rather emotional when concerning Haku, spoke Mitsuhide as he helped Naruto back onto his feet. "Did Anisu know Haku?" asked Naruto once he was back on his feet. "No, Haku and Zabuza left Kiri before we left. You see, Anisu and his family went into hiding when the bloodline purges began, but they were eventually found by bloodline hunters, Sayuri, and I came across them by pure chance as we fled Kiri, but by that time, they had already killed both his parents in front of his eyes," explained Mitsuhide, where he continued. "After we killed the bloodline hunters and buried Anisu's parents, we decided to take him with us as our student. Later on, when we told him about Haku, Anisu had wanted to search for him since Haku was the closest thing to family he had left, but as you know now, we later learned of the events in Nami no Kuni, resulting in Anisu being the last of his clan." After hearing this, Naruto could not help but feel slightly ashamed as he felt slightly responsible for what happened to Haku, who was the last living member of Anisa's clan. He could also understand Anisa's desire to try and find members of his family, since after growing up for 12 years without even knowing your own parents' names gave him a deep insight into such desires. After a while, when things started to calm down, Mitsuhide suggested that they all get some sleep and talk more tomorrow. At this everyone agreed, where they all took a comfortable place on the ground and got some sleep. Early next morning after eating breakfast, Naruto watched as Mitsuhide and Sayuri train Anisu in using his katana, which according to Anisu was called Hyarameru and was an important heirloom to his clan. Despite the rocky relationship that started between the two of them, Anisu started to become friendlier towards Naruto, especially after Naruto offered his sympathies for what happened to Haku. Naturally, after first hearing Naruto offering his sympathies, Anisu was caught by surprise, but after seeing the sincerity on Naruto's face, he thanked Naruto and apologized for his actions earlier, after which he asked Naruto if he could tell some things about his kinsman, which Naruto was more than happy to do. As Naruto watched them, he could not help but feel frustrated and angered, since with his chakra sealed his goal of achieving his mother's wish would be unattainable. Flashback to the Hokage Tower. After he placed his father's letter down, Naruto then opened up the other scroll, where he found that it was from his mother. "Dear Naruto. If you are reading this, then it must mean that I've died through some unknown incident when you were very young, or because of giving birth to you, for you see, before I was pregnant with you, I received an injury on a mission, where I was later told by the medics after I found out that I was pregnant with you, that the injury could cause complications in birth. But regardless of whatever happens, know that being pregnant with you has been the happiest time of my life, so please know that I love you with all my heart and that even in death, I will continue to love you and watch over you. I also write this letter because there is something very important that you need to know, and that is where you come from, along with an important dream that has been in our clan for many decades. You see, I was not born in Konoha. I was born as a small but powerful shinobi village called Yuzushiogakure, village hidden among the whirling tides, which was founded by our clan, the Uzumaki, a small but equally powerful shinobi clan. I was a member of the main branch of the Uzumaki clan, but was sent to Konoha as a symbol of friendship between Uzushio and Konoha. For both villages and their host nations had long been allied with one another since their founding. This was due to Uzushio's Uzumaki clan and Konoha's Senju clan being distant relatives of one another, a relation which was strengthened when my great-aunt Uzumaki Mido married the Senju clan head Senju Hashirama, who later became the Shodaime Hokage. This strong bond is of course seen today on the back of all Konoha Jonin and Chunin, where they carry the crest of our village on their backs. Both our clan and our village were famed for being masters in the art of Kenjutsu and for having long lives, but what the rest of the world was unaware of was that this was only a facade to keep others from learning who we truly were. You see, long ago before the founding of the shinobi villages, there was a time when shinobi clans fought one another constantly and sold their services to people, not unlike the shinobi villages of today do. In the beginning, when the shinobi clans were on the rise, many clans rose to great fame for their great fighting skills or because of their bloodline powers. 3 clans were particularly well known throughout the shinobi world. These clans were the Senju clan, who were famed as masters in all shinobi skills, the Uchiha, who were famed for the Sharingan bloodline, and our clan, who were known at that time as the Stormcallers. The reason why we were called this was because no one outside our clan knew who we really were, not even our allies the Senju clan. Our clan was founded by a great and powerful Kunosehi named Senju Kare, who later became Uzumaki Kare when she started our clan. Although she was born of the Senju clan, she left it due to not wanting any part in the long bitter feud that existed between the Uchiha and Senju clans since before their founding. Not long after she left her clan, she realized that she had a bloodline, one unlike any other that existed since the legendary Rinnegan, which was possessed by the legendary Kami no Shinobi, god of shinobi, the Rikiden Sennin, sage of the 6 paths, the founder of the shinobi arts, who was the ancestor of both the Senju and Uchiha clans. The reason why Kare-sama's bloodline was so unique was because her bloodline was a transcendent bloodline, which gives the one who wields it abilities that far exceeded other bloodlines and can also help generate other bloodlines from it, much like the Rinnegan did for the Uchiha and Hyuga clan, who each had Deducing, and the Senju clan, where the Shodaime Hokage possessed the Mokuton bloodline. The bloodline which Kare-sama possessed allowed her to possess 3 elemental affinities. These affinities were wind, lightning and water. Her bloodline, which she later called Rambyur-ka, Stormbreaker, allowed her to have unsurpassable control and mastery of these elemental. But the true extent of the bloodline was revealed when she mastered all 3 affinities and combined them. Where once she had mastered them, she learned she possessed a psionic ability to control all forms of weather over vast areas. This allowed her to manipulate the weather, where she could create tidal waves, hurricanes, thunderstorms, blizzards and many other things. This ability later allowed her to become known as the Ten no Megami, goddess of the heavens. Where she was feared throughout the shinobi world, to the point where she was regarded as the strongest kunoichi in the world. Later she married and had children who possessed her bloodline and founded our clan in Yuzu no Kuni, land of Whirlpool, where she taught her children how to use their bloodline. Sadly though, as time passed and the fame and power of the Stormcaller clan grew, we became the target of many rival shinobi clans who feared our power or who wanted our power for themselves. Although we often overcame our enemies, they continued to come after us. Eventually though, one of our enemies, the Akuma clan, learned our turn identity and attempted to invade our home. But before it could happen, Kare-sama, who despite being in her late 90s at the time, struck at the Akuma clan's island homeland, where at the cost of her own life, she used her full power to destroy the island nation of the Akuma clan, Tsunami no Kuni, harbor wave country, leaving no trace of it. Later on, as time continued, only a select number of our clansmen showed the ability to use the full extent of the Rambyur-ka, while others developed ways to combine some of their affinities to create new sub-elemental jutsu, such as Hyutin, Ice Release, and Ranton, Storm Release. Some even learned how to enhance and use their singular elemental affinities to the point that others could never hope to do, much like those with the Karangyusan Purusu, Crying Thunder Pulse, bloodline did. These members of our clan then later broke from us and formed their own clans, where some of them died out or were destroyed, while other like the Amako, Itsuki and Siwa clans rose to prominence and fame. It was at this point of our clan's history that the last surviving descendants of our former enemies, the Akuma clan, attacked our clan's fortress, although it was not until later that we learned that the attack itself was just a ruse for the surviving Akuma members to plant a large-scale seal around our clan's fortress, for they knew they could not defeat us in battle. So instead they exacted their revenge on us by placing a genetic seal on us, which they created and prevented any members of our clan from using our bloodline, including later generations like you, Naruto. When our clan learned what had happened, it was decided that we would focus all our attention on the art of Kenjutsu in the hope of one day breaking the seal and regaining our bloodline. So for the next 100 years our clan studied the art of Kenjutsu, where we revealed our true name and became the foremost masters in the art of Kenjutsu, while at the same time we spread the rumor that our other alias, the Stormcallers, had disappeared and died out. Unfortunately though, our mastery in Kenjutsu and our desire to reclaim our lost bloodline brought about our own destruction, for other shinobi nations began to fear our skill and power in Kenjutsu, and because of it, Yuzushio and Yuzu no Kuni were destroyed, while those of our clan who survived our village destruction were scattered across the continent. But despite Yuzushio destruction, the work our clan did on breaking the genetic seal survived, where together with your father Minato, who hopefully has raised you well, we were able to come up with a way to break the seal, but after doing so, we realized the stress it would put me through, where it could harm you while I was pregnant with you, hence we decided to wait till after you were born. But now that this is no longer possible, it will be up to you to realize our clan's dream of reclaiming our bloodline and rebuild our clan to what it once was. The information that you'll need to break the seal will be in a scroll, hidden in a secret compartment in the bottom of a desk drawer in our home in the library. To open it, all you have to do is spread some of your blood on the small seal in the drawer, as it will recognize you, since both your father's and my blood runs in you. Also in the compartment, there will be scrolls belonging to our clan, which have techniques created by our clan when we still had the Rangyuka, many of which can only be used by those with our bloodline. Along with that, some of the scrolls will also contain powerful sealing techniques, which our clan created after we lost our bloodline, where hopefully they'll be of some use to you. But regardless of whether you use these techniques or not, I know you'll do me proud, Naruto, for I have faith that you'll succeed in restoring our clan, and that you'll become a great man and shinobi just like your father. I send both Minato-kun and you all my love, and I wish nothing but joy and a long and happy life. With all my love, your mother. Kushina. After Naruto finished reading his mother's letter, small tears started falling from his eyes. I swear mother, I will not let you down, I will make you proud, and I will restore our family's legacy, Naruto swore before he put the letter down. Then flashback. Seeing Naruto watching them, Sayuri went over to him and offered him the chance to train with them, but he refused, stating that he couldn't use his chakra as it had been sealed off from him. This of course did not surprise Sayuri, as she and Mitsuhide already knew this, since it was standard practice from shinobi villages who banished one of their shinobi. Sayuri of course told Naruto that he could still train with them in Taijutsu, and if he was interested they would teach him some Kenjutsu move. This of course got Naruto excited, where he then eagerly joined Sayuri and Mitsuhide in their training of Inisu. For the next few hours Mitsuhide and Sayuri trained both Naruto and Inisu, where the two of them helped improve his Taijutsu skill, which were fairly rough to say the least, since Naruto had no real style and acted solely on instinct. They also then taught Naruto some basic sword stances and had him practice them for the remainder of the day. After they finished their training and sat down for dinner, Mitsuhide decided to suggest an idea he had come up with when he had been training Naruto and Inisu. Tell me Naruto, other than the seal that prevents you from using your chakra, is there any other seals placed on you? Yea, one other, it prevents me from talking about Konoha and anything involving it, answered Naruto as he ate his rice that Sayuri gave him. At this Mitsuhide nodded, as he expected something like that, although normally when a village banishes a shinobi from their village, they would either place a powerful genjutsu that would make them forget being a shinobi, or simply seal away his or her memories of their being a shinobi away. Would you mind showing these seals? Asked a former Miss Swordsman, where Naruto nodded and opened his mouth to show the seal that prevented him from talking about Konoha, after which Naruto then removed his jacket and shirt and revealed the seal on his chest that restricted his chakra. When Naruto showed Mitsuhide the seals, the missing nin studied each of them closely in the hope of understanding how they worked. After studying them both for a few minutes, Mitsuhide signaled Naruto that he had seen enough, where he then let out a deep sigh. Why did you want to see my seal? Asked Naruto as he put his shirt and jacket back on. I was hoping that if I examined them for a few minutes I could understand how your seals work. And? Asked Naruto as he dared to hope that Mitsuhide could actually help him. Sadly I do not believe I can break them, Naruto, as each shinobi village uses their own sealing techniques when sealing away a person's chakra, hence I am unsure how to undo yours. As for the seal that prevents you from talking about Konoha, that is another matter in itself, as it is very advanced and unlike any I've seen before, and I fear if I tamper with it, I could do you harm, answered Mitsuhide. So there's no way that they can be removed? Asked Naruto with disappointment as he began to lose hope. I did not say that, answered Mitsuhide with a knowing look, where Naruto just became confused. But you said Naruto, but was stopped by Mitsuhide as he held his hand up. I said that there was nothing I could do, but there is something that you can do, replied Mitsuhide, where Naruto just became even more confused. What do you mean by that? How can I get these seals off me when I don't know anything about seals? By using the Kyuubi's chakra, as a Bijus chakra is extremely potent and very powerful, and regardless of how strong those seals are, I'm certain that there is only a certain amount of the Kyuubi's chakra they can withstand, explained Mitsuhide. But what about the chakra suppressing seal, shouldn't that stop me from even trying? Asked Naruto. No, the seal is designed to suppress your chakra, not the Kyuubis, as both your chakras are separate from one another, Mitsuhide explained, where Naruto only nodded. Are you able to call upon the Kyuubis chakra? Asked Sayuri, since for Mitsuhide's plan to work, Naruto needed to be able to summon it to him. Yeah, I can, replied Naruto, so do you really think that this can work? There is no guarantee that it work, but it's your best beat, answered Mitsuhide. At hearing this, Naruto just nodded his head in understanding, whereafter he finished eating and went with Mitsuhide and the others to a large clearing away from the cave that they were staying in. He then closed his eyes and started to concentrate in the same way he was taught by Jiraiya in the month before the Chunin exam. In the seal. After about a minute or two, Naruto found himself in the familiar setting of a large hall, facing a large cage door with a seal holding it together. Behind the cage was the Kyuubi. So my pitiful host has once again decided to grace me with his presence, spoke the Kyuubi. Screw you, asshole, replied Naruto with a glare, as he had no fondness for the fox either. Kyuubi only sneered at Naruto's insult, as he was amused at how defiant Naruto still was. Tell me why you have come here? Asked the demon fox. I've come here to ask you for your help, answered Naruto. I've come here to ask for my help, laughed the Kyuubi in amusement. Pray tell me, what is it that you want me to do exactly? I want you to flood my entire body with as much of your power as you possibly can to break the seals that are on my body, explained Naruto. At this, the demon fox raised his left eyebrow in slight surprise. Interesting, but why should I do this for you? I gain nothing from helping you break your seals. If you don't do this, then I may never break these seals, and if I don't, I won't be able to defend myself from the Akatsuki when they come after me, where they'll capture me and extract you from me and use you for whatever plans they have. At this, the Kyuubi frowned slightly, for as much as he hated to admit it, Naruto had a point, since if Naruto was indeed captured, the Akatsuki would extract him from Naruto, removing any chance of escape, but if he did do this for Naruto, that possibility could be avoided. There was also the possibility that if he did flood Naruto's body with his chakra, Naruto would die. Although the Kyuubi knew that if Naruto died, he would die as well, he could revive himself later on and be free once more, hence the plan could be worth the risk. Very then, I will help you with your problem, replied the Kyuubi. You will? Asked the surprised Naruto, as he wasn't really sure if the Kyuubi would really do it. Yes, but be warned, the process will not be pleasant and it will be painful and there is a chance that you will not survive it, explained the Kyuubi. After hearing this, a worried look appeared on Naruto's face, but just as quickly turned to a look of determination, since he knew that if he didn't break these seals and if he couldn't use his chakra, then he had no chance of surviving the Akatsuki when they eventually found him, not to mention if he couldn't use his chakra. Then he had no chance of regaining his clan's lost bloodline and reviving his clan. Well, if I don't do this, then I might as well be dead once the Akatsuki catch up to me, replied Naruto. At hearing this, the Kyuubi smirked. HMPH, you have courage, I'll give you that, boy, but be warned, there may be side effects from your body being flooded by so much of my chakra. That's fine, answered Naruto. Well then, let's begin. Wait, you're doing it now? Cried Naruto in surprise. Of course, why not? Replied the Kyuubi, where he started sending his chakra into Naruto before the blonde boy could even respond further. In the real world. Currently watching over Naruto, Mitsuhide, Sayuri and Inisu waited patiently for Naruto to wake up. How long do we have to wait? Asked Inisu. I do not know, I'm afraid, since Naruto needs to convince the Kyuubi to help him, which may not be an easy task, replied Mitsuhide. Inisu just nodded at this, but before he could ask any further, he suddenly sensed a large surge of chakra coming from Naruto. When the group turned to Naruto, they saw red chakra forming around Naruto. Well, looks like the kid got the Kyuubi to help him, spoke Sayuri. For the next few minutes, Mitsuhide and the others watched the Kyuubi's chakra surround Naruto's body. As the chakra grew, they could sense the foulness and bloodlust coming from the chakra, which made Inisu very nervous. So this is the chakra of a Biju, it's amazing, commented the Lice user as he felt the Kyuubi's power. Trust me, I've seen nothing yet, especially when you compare this to when a Jinchuriki unleashes its full power, answered Sayuri, as she remembered what the Yonde Mizukage could do when he used his Biju's power. As the Kyuubi's chakra continued to flood Naruto's body, the young blonde started to scream out in pain. Seeing this, Inisu became concerned, but before he could move towards Naruto, Mitsuhide held his arm out to stop the white-haired boy. Aunt Inisu, you only get hurt. But sensei's he's hurting, we can't just stand here and watch, responded Inisu when he turned to Mitsuhide. We have to, replied Sayuri, a Biju's chakra is quite toxic and if a normal person comes in contact with it, it could kill them. Jinchuriki are more acceptable to the Biju chakra thanks to their seals, but even then, there's only so much they can take, even with a seal as strong as the one on Naruto. Soon enough, Mitsuhide and the others were forced to move further and further back as the Kyuubi's chakra started to grow, where the strength of the chakra started to grow. Once they were about 300 yards away from where Naruto was, they watched from the three tops as the Kyuubi's chakra grew. Soon after, they could see a large massive of red chakra emanating from Naruto's position, where it grew bigger and bigger. The force that was emanating from the chakra was so great that the trees that were around Naruto were slowly being pushed back where they fell over. "This is intense," commented Inosu, as he never felt such a massive amount of chakra in his life. "Even from all the way here I can still sense it clearly." Eventually the buildup of chakra reached its zenith, where as soon as Mitsuhide and Sayuri saw this, they immediately took hold of Inosu and jumped off the tree tops and behind a large nearby boulder. As soon as they took cover behind the boulder, there was a sudden massive shockwave where they could see large chunks on earth flying by them, along with full-grown trees that were ripped out of their roots by the blast. Once the shockwave died down, the three shinobi came out from behind the boulder and saw the destruction caused by the shockwave. Many of the surrounding trees had been blown over or knocked down and scattered across the area, along with large chunks or mounds of earth. After seeing the destruction around them, Mitsuhide and the others decided to check on Naruto. As they made their way closer to where Naruto was, the destruction became worse and worse, where a whole tree had been destroyed and blown to pieces, and the earth itself had been unturned. Eventually though they found Naruto lying on the ground in the center of a medium-sized crater, with his face to the ground, his pants and upper shirt were pretty shredded up, and there were signs of large burns on his body, obliviously caused by the Kyuubi's chakra, but remarkably they were already healing at a phenomenal rate. "Is he alive?" asked Inosu. "He is," replied Sayuri after checking Naruto's pulse, "but we should bring him back to the cave and let him rest." A few days later. After using the Kyuubi's chakra, Naruto spent the next couple of days recovering. Although all the injuries he had suffered had held up with minutes of happening, his body was still worn out from being flooded by the Kyuubi's chakra. Once Naruto woke up and was able to move about, Sayuri gave Naruto a spare set of clothes they had belonging to Inosu, which were a black shirt and shinobi pants. Since Naruto's previous clothes were in tatters, the only item of clothing that survived the incident was Naruto's orange coat, which had been blown off him when he used the Kyuubi's chakra and was found later by Inosu. Fortunately as well, the Shodame's necklace, which Tsunade had given, had also survived. Even though he was still angry at her for lying to him about his family, he considered the necklace an important keepsake. Once Naruto was dressed, Sayuri asked him if he could use his chakra when the blonde boy started to summon his chakra and formed his Rasengan, spiraling sphere. This of course surprised Mitsuhide and Sayuri as they recognized the famed technique of the Yondaime Hokage. Seeing that he could use his chakra, Naruto immediately started to cheer and cry out that it had worked. Soon after, when Naruto calmed down, Mitsuhide asked Naruto if he could talk about Konoha. In response, Naruto started talk about some things in Konoha like the academy, the names of the people of the Konoha and some other things. Seeing that he could talk freely, Naruto began to cheer again at being finally free of Danzo's seal. Eventually though, Mitsuhide had Naruto calm down again, where he then told him to open his mouth so that he could make sure that Danzo's seal was gone. Once Mitsuhide had made certain that Danzo's seal was gone, he then decided to make Naruto an offer that he and Sayuri had discussed as they waited for him to wake. "Naruto, Sayuri and I've been talking and we both agreed where if you were interested, we would like you to join us on our travel, during which Sayuri and I will train you." "Are you serious?" asked Naruto with disbelief, where the former swordsman just nodded. After hearing this, Naruto just smiled as words failed to describe what he was feeling right now. For the next few hours, Mitsuhide and Sayuri talked to Naruto about what he knew and could do. During the conversation, Naruto mentioned to them that he was trained by Jiraiya, which surprised both Sayuri and Inosu, since they never expected Naruto to be trained by the legendary Gama Sennin of the Densetsu no Sannin, legendary 3 ninja. One of the most famed and powerful shinobi in the world. Mitsuhide although wasn't surprised, as he expected as much after seeing Naruto preform the Rasengan, as other than the Yondaime Hokage, who was no deceased, Jiraiya was the only no shinobi that could do form the Rasengan. "Tell me something, Naruto, did Jiraiya-sama teach you anything else other than the Rasengan?" asked Mitsuhide. "Yeah, he had me sign a contract with the Toads and taught me how to summon them," answered Naruto, where as soon as he said this Mitsuhide frowned. At seeing Mitsuhide frown, Naruto asked what was wrong, after which Mitsuhide began to explain how when a person signs a contract with the summonings can reverse summon the person to their home place or track them. "So that means the Toad, Naruto's new name for Jiraiya, can find me whenever he wants," stated Naruto, where Mitsuhide just nodded again. "Is there anything I can do to prevent that?" asked Naruto, as he didn't want any contact with Jiraiya, not after he learned the truth of his relationship with him, Naruto. "I only know of 2 ways, the first is annul your contract with the Toads, or have them lie Jiraiya-sama for you," answered Naruto. At this Naruto was stumped as he didn't know what to do as he liked the toads, especially Gamakichi and Gamabunta and didn't want to break his contract with them, but then again, he wasn't sure if he could convince them to agree to keep where he was hidden from Jiraiya since they only knew him a few months while they've known Jiraiya for years. After a few minutes of hard thought, Naruto decided to give it a shot since he had nothing to lose by just asking, and if he couldn't, then he would just have to annul his contract with them. Once he had come to his decision, Naruto and the others walked out of the cave that they were staying in and went to the same place where he had gone to make contact with the Kyuubi. After arriving at the now destroyed area, Naruto once again called forth the Kyuubi's chakra and used it to summon Gamabunta, the boss of the Toad Summons. "Holy shit!" cried Inisu as he stood not too far away from Naruto and the now summoned Gamabunta, where he stared in awe at the massive summons and was equally in awe that Naruto could summon something so big to fight for him. So that the fable summons of Jiraiya, the Gama-Sennin and the Yondaime Hokage, spoke Sayuri, who was clearly impressed at seeing Gamabunta. "That is indeed the famed Gamabunta, the boss of the Toad Summons," spoke Mitsuhide, who had heard stories of the famed summons and like everyone else was equally impressed. "Alright, who summoned me here? Was it your Jiraiya?" spoke the large boss summons. "It was me, boss Gamabunta," replied Naruto, who was standing up on Gamabunta's head. "Naruto? What's wrong? And why the hell did you summon me here?" asked Gamabunta as he rolled his eyes up to look at Naruto. "Sorry boss Gamabunta, but I need to ask you some things about my contract with you," Naruto answered. "Why do you want to know about your contract? And who the hell are those guys over there?" Gamabunta asked as he looked down at Mitsuhide and the others below him. "Don't worry, they're friends of mine. As for why I want to know about my contract, it's sort of a long story," responded Naruto, where he began to explain the event of the month before. For the next hour and a half, Naruto told Gamabunta about everything that happened over a month ago, from the mission to retrieve Sasuke and to how the council had him banished. When Naruto finished, the Toad boss was shocked and far from pleased. "They banished you, all because they were afraid to those guys that were after you?" spoke the large Toad in disbelief as he found the actions of the majority of the Konoha council completely ludicrous. At this question, Naruto just nodded in acknowledgement. "And where the hell was Jiraiya when all this was happening?" asked Gamabunta as he refused to believe that Jiraiya would simply stand by and let this all happen. "Wasn't in the village as he went gallivanting off as always does, right after we found the old hag and brought he back to Konoha," replied Naruto as he frowned at the mention of his so-called godfather and Tsunade. Gamabunta of course didn't miss any of this and wondered what made Naruto feel such anger towards Jiraiya and Tsunade. "Kid, what's going on? Did something happen between you and Jiraiya and Tsunade?" asked the Toad boss. "What's the matter is that I just learned that I've been lied to my entire life," replied Naruto angrily. At hearing this, Gamabunta's eyes widened slightly when he realized that Naruto knew the truth, "You know." "You're damn right I know," cried Naruto as he jumped down to the Gamabunta's nose and looked directly into the Toad boss's eyes. "Listen kid, I know you're angry, but Jiraiya and the others were only looking out to protect you," explained Gamabunta. "And that excuses them for allowing the village to beaten up and abused by for the past 12 years," retorted Naruto. "Abused? What do you mean?" asked Gamabunta as this was the first he was hearing about this. At seeing the Toad boss' surprise and confused look, Naruto went on to explain how he was treated in the village and told him about some of the things that happened to him. Natural Gamabunta was shocked as he knew none of this. Sure, he suspected that Naruto didn't have a great childhood since he was a Jinchuriki, but he never dreamed that the people and some of the shinobi would purposely abuse and try and kill Naruto. When Gamabunta stated that Jiraiya would never have allowed that to happen, Naruto responded that Jiraiya was never there for him and how he never once visited him or went to check up on him. After hearing this, Gamabunta couldn't believe it since although he knew that Jiraiya didn't care of Naruto since he wasn't the parental model type and was tracking Orochimaru. But he still had thought that Jiraiya would have checked up on Naruto and to see how he was doing. "Damn it Jiraiya, what have you done?" thought Gamabunta angrily as he never would thought Jiraiya would do such a thing. "So what is it that you want me to do?" asked Gamabunta once he calmed down a bit. "I want you and the other toads to keep Jiraiya and the others in the dark about what's happening, and if they ask if you can track me or reverse summon me, tell them you can for some reason, since right now, I don't want anything to do with the pervert or Konoha," stated Naruto angrily. At this, Gamabunta just nodded in understanding, after which he then stared down at Mitsuhide and the others. "What about those three down there? They're some people who saved me when I was trouble, they're okay and I'll be traveling with them for a while," Naruto replied. Gamabunta of course frowned slightly at this and gave Mitsuhide and the other a quick glance, but soon just nodded, where he then told Naruto to take care of himself. Naruto responded of course, saying he would and also promised that he would summon Gamakichi later on to tell them how he was doing. At this, the large Toad boss just nodded before he puffed away, causing Naruto to fall to the ground. Damned Gamabunta, next time let me down before you go back home, muttered Naruto angrily as he picked himself up. Naruto, you okay? Asked Mitsuhide as he and the others came up to him. Yeah, it'll be fine, replied Naruto as he picked himself up. So what did he say, did he agree to not tell Jiraiya-sama? Asked Inosu. Yeah, he agreed, answered Naruto, where the others just nodded. And you're sure that you want to come with us? Asked Mitsuhide, where Naruto nodded. Yay, I am, responded Naruto, as he knew that if he wanted to achieve his new goals, he would have to become a lot stronger, where Mitsuhide, Sayuri and Inosu might just be able to help him. Very well then, said Mitsuhide as he smiled, where together he, Naruto and the others all headed off to the cave, where they stayed and packed up to begin their journey together. Thanks for watching.